完璧などありえない。この世界は不完全だから美しい。
もうバカ
何？
俺は海賊王になる。なんて美味しさなの。
力を渡した時に言ったことを覚えているかい？くれ。違う、そこじゃない。
変態遅い。
Hello and welcome to More Than Hentai, a podcast that is here to show that anime is far more than just tentacles and catgirls. There's also countless stories of love, loss, laughs, hope, horror, and happiness that are just dying to be found. And I, Brendan White, the Salt and Pepper Senpai, am here to help you find them. More Than Hentai is proudly powered by Audio Technica and our friends over at Dash Water. And joining me on this episode is a man who is a valued member of the Fortnite Snack Daddy squad. When he's not clowning kids for crowns, he can be found being a sweary dad, occasionally tearing up the ballroom dance floor, creating many a new video game concept in real life, as well as via his podcast known as Bitstorm. From an anime standpoint, he's a big old fan of Ninja Scroll, One Piece, and Dragon Ball Z. You can find him via Trev H. Scott on the socials, where I'm fairly sure the H stands for hell freaking yeah. Trevor Scott, welcome to the Riverside Studio, my friend. How might you be doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks, Brendan, for having me on.
Hey, thank you for coming by. I've been very excited to jump back on the microphone with you. So, full spoilers, listeners, we have done this dance through many different iterations of podcasts and lifetimes over the years. We are old guards when it comes to the podcasting game. We were talking sort of offline about potential episode count of close to maybe 4 figures as far as pods we've done collectively.
Pretty much.
Which is scary to think about, but something that's not scary to think about is you and your fantastic backstory and the things you get up to. So I guess we can first start that off before we then narrow that lens into an anime-centric discussion. So, mate, tell me about yourself. Tell the listeners what you do and anything else you care to share today on More Than Hentai.
Yeah, so, okay, obviously you've heard about the podcasting. There was a little bit of a talk about ballroom dancing in there, which I will get to. But I suppose my first love was always music. So I play the electric bass in a couple of bands, one of which is Dust, which you'll hear all over the Bitstorm podcast. Like we play one of the songs there. And another band that I was part of was Eldritch Rights, which was a doom metal band playing really, really heavy stuff in the vein of like Black Sabbath and like a whole heap of other bands that you've probably never heard of, Reverend Bazaar and a couple of friends' bands, Dire Fate, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. And then ballroom dancing. I've unfortunately had to kind of give it away recently.
What?
Because the old knees. I'm 43 years old now, Brendan. The old knees are kind of being given away.
That's fair. They've had a good run.
They had a good run. I still love it. Still love teaching it, but unfortunately, I can't continue doing it for the moment, at least. So I've had to kind of give that away. I haven't danced in 6 months. Other than that, I'm a software engineer at a big Australian bank, doing lots of solution designs and lots of fun technical things there. And then when it comes to family life, I've got a 11-year-old son and a lovely wife and house in the suburbs, and everything's good.
Mate, you are far too talented and far too multifaceted. Like, the stories you've shared with me throughout this journey of your 43 years and the things you've gotten up to and like just some of the hobbies there that you just sort of casually dove into there where you're like, I do ballroom dancing. I used to teach it. Well, up until recently, I used to teach it. Yeah. Curse those knees. Hopefully they have a bit of a second wind there. But then you're like, I've just played in some bands. I'm a software engineer. I'm doing
impro at the moment. Like I get up on stage and, do improvised comedy with a few friends. And, that's, again, more stuff that I love doing. And that's actually come out of podcasting, out of doing Bitstorm, which is a improvised game design podcast. I love the improvising part of it, that we come up with things out of nowhere. So I decided, and Ben and I during COVID times, we did an online course, and then I continued into real life.
It's so good. Like podcasting, like you mentioned it perfectly there. Like it lends genre and concepts to so many parts of life. Like you talked about the improvisation and, public speaking and just helping general social interactions, whether it be work or personal and family related. Like podcasting keeps those mouth muscles fresh and limber and really helps day to day in so many aspects. And the improv thing is awesome. I did a tiny bit of it at school, and I've always been intrigued about getting back into it again because I really enjoyed drama class at school, and I enjoy the creative arts and the creative space. Obviously, we're doing podcasting, but it's something I'm going to have to come check you and the crew out one day doing because I've got a ton of respect for any type of performer, and especially when it's improv or sort of that off the cuff stuff, it really shows where people can sing and stand apart from the rest of the more scripted, rigid performers out there for sure.
Oh yeah, and it's so much more drama than I was expecting. Like in the particular group that I go to and have been learning from, it's all about stories and the emotions first, and then out of that comes comedy. So if it's a real performance, it can lend itself to just unexpected comedy rather than just going for laughs. And
100%.
That's what I'm loving about it.
And you never know what you're going to get, not only as a performer, but as a participant in the audience or a viewer in the audience. Like it's a dice roll for everybody involved, which makes it even more exciting and interesting, I think.
I mean, I find it really funny because if we were talking about, the sort of person I am, a lot of people would say, oh yeah, you're quite out there. You put yourself out there and all this sort of stuff. But I'm an introvert at heart. I did not struggle at all through COVID. I loved being alone. It kind of meant that I didn't have to actually go out and put on this face in front of everyone. I get nervous every time I go out on stage, every time I go to play in front of people, every time I went to dance, every time I jump on a podcast, every time I, I force myself into these things because I actually enjoy them, but I'm an introvert at heart. So
I'm there in lockstep with you. I'm the same. Like there's a term that friend of the podcast and mutual acquaintance and friend of ours, Buddy Watson, once said, and he said antisocial butterfly. And he mentioned that term, yes. And I'm like, that perfectly describes how I feel most days, where I'm happy to socialize and whatever else. But like you said, then I need that alone time or that time to unwind. So yeah, COVID for me was also perfect because I love these social interactions, love my friends, my family and stuff like that. But I also love that solitude and that time when I can just switch off and not care. Oh, not care. That's probably too harsh a thing to say. Like not worry, not have worry, that stress because I'm the same, whether it be podcasting, catching up with people, work, public speaking. Like, yeah, I get that stress and that anxiety too. And I choose to think in my head, I'm like, I feel these things because I care, that I'm passionate and I want it to be good instead of just, this is the worst scenario ever, get me out of here, please. So, yeah, I think it's good to be nervous and it's good to sort of be stressed and uncomfortable. I think uncomfortable situations can lead to a lot of good. So I appreciate you getting uncomfortable here with me on the podcast. So
always.
Hell yeah. So let's narrow that lens into, I guess, the byline of this podcast, which is an anime appreciation podcast, More Than Hentai. So let's talk about you and your history with anime. One of them that you mentioned as far as one of your favorites is also in my Mount Rushmore of anime, and that's Ninja Scroll.
Yeah.
But let's sort of just start back to, I guess, young Trevor when he first discovered this fantastic genre or this fantastic medium. So step me through how you discovered anime and what your thoughts and feelings are on it.
SBS, late 90s, early 2000s night, and a little movie called Ninja Scroll was on there. So I came in big.
Yeah.
And I had never heard anything about it or anything like that. I came in blind and sat there for, the hour and a half that it goes for and just sat in awe of this amazing, sort of half samurai, half horror, half, just pure Japanese awesome. It was a night to remember. And I remember having a VHS copy of Ninja Scroll that I very hastily, recorded that night. And then when the DVD finally came out, in I think around 2003, 2004, it was one of my first purchases, and it's sitting quite proudly on my shelf. And I'll go back and watch it every 1 or 2 years.
Maybe not with a family though.
Maybe not with the family. Other than that, like I did say Dragon Ball Z, like watching that when it started coming out. I am a little bit older, like as I said, 43, so I'm a little bit older than the typical demographic of Dragon Ball Z, but there was just something about like the animation style and the and just I don't know, the story was kind of captivating at the time when I was just watching it after doing a very, very long shift at the local Pizza Hut doing delivery driving.
Shout out
Came
to Pizza
home
Hut.
and, it was finishing, last night's pizza and sitting there or watching a story and wondering how many episodes is it going to be until Goku actually gets to this planet? And it still kept my attention, even though every single episode they could go 4 or 5 episodes without actually increasing the story at all or progressing the story whatsoever.
Yeah, spoilers, listeners. Goku to do anything or any of those types of anime in that vein, the lead character to do anything usually takes an awful long time. You're not going to get clarity in those 20-odd minutes in that episode. You get clarity maybe 10 episodes time or maybe several seasons time. Who knows?
And then it's only been recent. We were chatting during one of our many Fortnite sessions and we got to talking about One Piece and I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a bit of a red hot go. And then the Netflix series came out around the same time. And you know what? I'm kind of hooked. I kind of fell off it for a little bit because I've been focused so much on work and my wife's health and my health and all this sort of stuff. But I will be going back into it. I'm, something like 150, 160 episodes in.
Okay. So we're similar placed. So I'll sort of jump back to the start of that origin story and say that we have near identical origin stories or entry points into anime. I was a lot younger though when I watched Ninja Scroll. I was like 10, 11. So when I saw this and I was just like, what is this in my head? I'm like, what is this cartoon that's hyper violent? Like you said, there's horror elements, there's sexual elements, super violent, super gory, mad battles. What is going on here? And so it hooked me from the jump. I saw it in the mid 90s. And it really set me on a pretty good path. Like Kawajiri, who wrote and directed it, has done some of my favorite stuff, like Vampire Hunter D. Bloodlust is another film of his that I adore. Wicked City, which is also pretty sexy, pretty naughty, pretty gory, pretty violent as well. So he's got a type. And that type certainly appeals to me, and especially it appealed to younger me. So I was hooked from the get-go. Dragon Ball, I caught here and there a little bit when I was a youngin', and One Piece, like we've embarked on a similar journey. I'm at about episode 190 now, but I think in comparison to yourself, like I enjoyed the live action. I enjoyed it probably more than my viewing experience of the anime so far because I've been having a really tough time with the anime, and I've had to sort of hop on, hop off a few times because I'll just be watching episodes and I'm like, I don't care what is happening. I don't care about these characters, and if I don't have that emotional investment, it just doesn't grab me. So I've sort of had to hit the pause button a few times, go watch a few things and come back, and I'll keep persisting, but it's just not a high priority. But you've been vibing it so far. Like you said, you enjoyed the live action. You're about 150 episodes into the anime. You've been digging it?
I really am. I think going in, I knew straight away that if I looked ahead or anything like that, I'd be going, I can't wait till I get to this bit. And I'm like, no, I need to just sit back and enjoy each episode for what it is. And look, there were some definite episodes after like Arlong Park that just dragged. And that was a real slog to get through. And I think that's because, you wanted the next story to actually start, or the next, sequence of stories. But I think just by focusing in on enjoy what's coming, enjoy the ride, and just start focusing on the relationships between the characters. And it's actually kind of helped me a little bit in the impro because the way they communicate, they've got this camaraderie and all this sort of stuff already there that you can tell each character has been almost written, or each line of dialogue is specifically written for that character, and it remains consistent throughout, which is, again, really good for when I'm trying to learn acting and that sort of stuff, to have that character voice in my head.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like it is a special anime, especially for a lot of people. I hope that it will ascend in my favoritism list over the years. as I consume the nearly 1,100 episodes that are available at time of recording.
But also, I'm haven't watched that much anime yet. And that's why I thought, this is the perfect podcast to come on, because it's taking me out of my depth a little bit. And, we talked a little bit about what we were going to watch this time. It was actually fun having that conversation and almost hearing, even though it was just through text, the excitement when I mentioned what drew me to Ninja Scroll, rather than, because I think you were on one way down the Ninja Scroll part, and I'm definitely very much in the horror side of things. So
yeah, it was good to sort of see this sort of plan come together, because listeners, if this is your first time stopping on by, the way that these episodes are formulated is I'll bring a guest on every episode that is new to the anime in question we're going to be talking about, and they'll fill out a little bit of a question and answer, just so I can get a bit of an understanding of what they like from a viewing perspective, themes and tones and genres and whatnot, maybe mention some anime that they like. So then I try and find their hopeful next favorite anime, or their next anime that they're going to watch this first episode that we're going to cover and go, shit, I need to consume the rest because this is the best, and I'm in and I can't wait. And you mentioned the Ninja Scroll thing. I went down the ninja swordplay combat route, of which there is plenty in Ninja Scroll outside of the body horror and the gore. But you were more in the body horror and the atrocities that sort of hooked you on Ninja Scroll. So I had an idea.
The villains
in
Ninja Scroll are just probably the best part about Ninja Scroll, is in the fact that they are so weird and wonderful, and like the hero has to come up with different ways to defeat them, that it's like each one was a struggle in its own. And it sort of just made me think, the body horror of it actually got me into a lot more sort of other horror aspects in my movie watching. It's a gateway
drug, the old Ninja Scroll. And the old 8 Devils of Kimon that Jubei has to take down in Ninja Scroll, they're all unique in their own creepy, messed up ways. And I love that it is just these continuous sort of boss battles where, there's different mechanics that he needs to work out, or different potential things that are going to kill him that he wasn't familiar with, going from person to person. It is so good. God, I love Ninja Scroll. And I've got the Blu-ray downstairs and I haven't watched it in a while. So maybe I'll do that after we record here, because I've got a hankering to go back in and watch Jubei do his thing. We don't talk about the series, and we don't talk about the sequel, because that is rough stuff. So just think of it as this is the only thing that exists, is the Ninja Scroll film. Anything outside of that, don't worry about it. There's plenty of other great ninja.
I've only ever seen Ninja Scroll the movie.
I've watched it all, and it sucks, man. It sucks.
Oh, bugger.
But what hopefully doesn't suck is our title in focus for this episode, and it is Parasyte, or Parasyte the Maxim, if you want to get technical with the anime. And Parasyte is an award-winning science fiction horror manga series written and illustrated by Hitoshi Iwaki. It was published in Kodansha's Morning Open Zokan and Monthly Afternoon magazine from 1988 through to 1995, and as of August of 2022, has over 25 million copies in circulation, making it one of the most popular manga in the world. The manga has since been adapted into 2 live-action films and a 24-episode anime television series, which was produced by Madhouse, titled Parasyte the Maxim, as I mentioned, which aired between October 2014 and March 2015. Parasyte the Maxim currently holds a score of 8.33 on my anime list, and that is based off 1.1 million user reviews. And the story of Parasyte the Maxim is as follows. All of a sudden, they arrived. Parasitic aliens that descended upon Earth and quickly infiltrated humanity by burrowing into the brains of vulnerable targets. These insatiable beings acquire full control of their host and are able to morph into a variety of forms in order to feed on unsuspecting prey. 16-year-old high school student Shinichi Izumi falls victim to one of these parasites, but it fails to take over his brain, ending up instead in his right hand. Unable to relocate, the parasite, now named Migi, has no choice but to rely on Shinichi in order to stay alive. Thus, the pair is forced into an uneasy coexistence and must defend themselves from hostile parasites that hope to eradicate this new threat to their species. So, Trev, we're going to be talking about episode 1, The Metamorphosis. Where do you want to start? Do we want to go beat by beat with that fantastic cold open, or what are your thoughts? Take me on the journey.
I think we need to start just as the show starts in media res. Like literally, it starts and gives you the best intro to a show that I've sort of experienced. Like,
I'm fist pumping already. I'm taking an early victory lap because the open is fantastic. Lead us through it. Talk us through the open.
Okay. Open. There is a couple standing facing each other. All of a sudden, the camera switches to the man. That makes a slight sound as his face gets cracks from like the top of his hairline and the bottom of his chin all the way to the center. And then they switch over to the lady's face as she looks in horror. And then the guy's face opens up into this giant mouth. It goes back to the lady looking in horror and then chomp. No sound. And I think that makes it even more terrifying. There was no sound. For sure, It just, in this mouth envelops her head. There's blood and then intro.
It's a powerful open, and it really sets the tone. And I'm so happy that it opens this way because we were talking about your love of horror and the things of Ninja Scroll that really excited you, and the fact that it just leads in straight away with this. And I love that you mentioned too the bite scene where you see the husband bite the wife's head off, where it's they've completely cut the sound, and it just makes it so much more blunt and straight to the head as far as the viewer goes, just whack, just punches you, and you're like, whoa, okay.
It's so otherworldly as well. Like it's like, oh my God, what just happened? And then, in kicks,
this very funky jam, hey, in the open.
Yeah. Some very, very cool theme music with very, very auto-tuned vocals for the Japanesey sort of high-pitched sort of stuff. And then there's some like English screaming in the background, like that comes in later on.
It's a hell of a time. So the intro starts, and the intro is called Let Me Hear by Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And as you mentioned, we get a mix of Japanese and English vocal deliveries. But one thing I took away doing the rewatch again is one of the lyrics you get, and it goes, "You guys do not notice that we are gifted just by being humans. We are absolute predators. We do not even have any enemies. Maybe there are other animals watching us and thinking that someday we will beat them down." And you're like, man, those lyrics perfectly sort of just summarize this show, even though I've just been watching it for literally 30 seconds. I'm like, I get it. I understand what's happening here from this cold open and then this opening track by Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I'm like, yep, I'm in, baby. This is a hell of a time. Let's go.
And I suppose what I love about the whole opening all the way through until Shinichi actually gets to school, it's all, you don't know what's quite going on because it's like you haven't been explained anything of what's happening so far. Even during the breakfast scene that comes up next that we will talk about, like they're referencing things that haven't been shown to the audience yet. Yeah. So it's all still in media res. It's all still action is happening and they're just going along with the story, and then they'll finally come back to what happened that last night.
Yeah. So after the open closes, and there's some really great imagery. There's some real creepy imagery you get when they're introducing characters you don't yet know. You see some Parasyte based things going on. You see some cute moments, then a weird sort of naked cuddling moment that ties in. I'm like, okay, we're going there. This happens. But then we get Shinichi waking up, and he's waking up in the morning in a little bit of a haze, and he's got this strange voice that he's hearing saying it's failed and it's a failure. But then he realizes, or at least he assumes, it's like, oh, it's just a dream. Okay, whatever. And gets up out of bed, heads downstairs. His mother and father are at the breakfast table. The mum's cooking up some absolutely banging looking bacon and eggs. I was salivating.
I was a little bit. This is I think. One of the things that sort of echoes throughout this first episode is they really put women as like serving the men. And I think that's very much like, it's a little bit icky. And it was very, very evident that, I think it's almost this way because of, it is definitely a different culture and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But she's standing there serving and not having any food herself. And the father and son are sitting there eating food, and she's just there to serve them. And it kind of felt a bit icky.
Yeah, the female representation in this first episode especially is a little weak and a little like, oh, come on, man. But like you said, I think it's a bit of a cultural thing, but also a time-based thing. Like, I'm not saying that type of behavior was ever okay, but this is an anime that was written many, many, many decades ago now. So there has been a bit of a societal-based shift there. But yeah, so she's cooking these fantastic bacon and eggs. It made me want bacon and eggs immediately.
Oh, yeah. And should we actually mention right now that Shinichi actually said that he didn't want them?
Yeah, he didn't. He's like,
he actually
no,
goes,
I'm not
I don't really
hungry.
want them. It's like, and then she's like, his mum's like, you need to eat breakfast, and so I think, and then he's drinking his tea, and his father shows him a bug, and he's all freaked out. He burns his tongue and jumps away, and he's really not reacting well. And I'm like, oh well, this is going to be a character moment that will be called back in many episodes' time. Oh, little what did I know? Little I knew.
We see that, Shinichi's he's a bit of a timid boy, 16-year-old boy. And yeah, he's sitting there at the breakfast table, and he mentions like that he's looking at his hand and it doesn't feel right. And the parents mention about what happened last night, and that you don't really understand at the moment because we haven't seen it, but they sort of say, yeah, we came in, you were having a nightmare and carrying on, and you tied up your arm with your headphones, and you're like, what? Huh?
His dad's like, did you find that worm that you were looking for? Or in the sub, it was, did you find that snake? So the fact that they went with a slightly different thing, I get it, because now I look at it from an English point of view. It's like, no, worm probably makes more sense as a more direct representation of what this alien being looked like.
Exactly. So we get, some little tells from the parents and Shinichi there, and you're just like, okay, I can sort of piece together what may or may not have happened last night, but hopefully we get a little bit more of that uncovered very shortly. But then it cuts back to the couple that we saw in that very first opening scene with the man that bit his wife's head off. And you can see the man who's, obviously possessed by this parasite, and his face is all kinds of contorted and messed up. And he's trying to learn how to act human and teach himself how to speak, like the television's on.
Yep.
And he's trying to imitate the wording to understand, I guess, how to assimilate then into society as this parasitic humanoid. And so he's doing that. And then you can hear off camera that they've got a young daughter, and they're like, Daddy, what are you doing? Or, where's Mummy? Because he's standing there and Mummy's now headless and the body's on the ground, blood everywhere. And he just casually walks downstairs, leaving bloody footprints everywhere.
As he's leaving, like the daughter goes, Daddy, where's Mummy? I'm hungry. And he creepily has his face sort of morph a little bit, and then repeats the line as like, Daddy, where's Mummy? I'm hungry. And just like, it's so creepy as he walks slowly. And as soon as they cut to black, you hear a squelch, and it's like, oh God, he's just done it to his daughter as well. And they didn't need to show that, at least.
Yeah, you actually hear the bite sound this time as opposed to the muted bite in the open there. So yeah, we get that, and then that scene fades to black, and then we see Shinichi on his way to school, and this is where we meet Murano. She's sort of sneaking in the shadows, female friend of Shinichi, and she runs up to karate chop him in the back. But Shinichi, without even looking or hearing her,
he didn't know. It was all, as we will come to know, it was all his,
it was all Migi.
It's all Migi, who just reached up and stopped the karate chop to his head, like with his right hand, and it was like, oh my God, this is almost a perfect moment. Turns around, he doesn't even realize that he stopped this attack, and she's like, oh, how'd you do that? And then she looks weird at him for a little bit, and we find out that he's grasping her left breast with his right hand.
Yeah, so Migi wanted to cop a feel, and yeah, he's grabbing that boob pretty well, and obviously Murano is clearly upset about this, because who wouldn't be? She slaps Shinichi, not really sure what's wrong with him. Power slap.
What a slap it was.
And then she runs the other way, and then you see Shinichi looking at his hand again, confused as hell, going like, what is going on? What's happening with me? Yep. What is happening with this idle right hand? Please explain, anybody.
What I really liked, and I've watched both dub and sub of this, the dub almost had a better reaction for
the slap?
For her leaving. Like when she left, she was upset, and she in the sub, I think she goes, "Shinichi, you idiot," and it's like it almost feels more in the English version. It was, "You disgust me," and she walked off, and more of a huff, and it wasn't sort of just brushed off. But then the next character comes in, who's another friend. I can't remember the name of.
Ryuko? I think it's Ryuko.
Yes. She comes up and he's still trying to say it was just a misunderstanding, and she kind of brushes it off as if it was okay, and it's sort of like, you just watched him grope someone. Please react a little bit better.
It was kind of strange because she's like, "Do you want me to go apologize on your behalf?"
Yes.
to Murano to make her feel better on your behalf, explain that it was a misunderstanding. And so that scene occurs, and then we find out what happened last night. We get a flashback to Shinichi in his bedroom, soundly sleeping at a very late hour, and we see this worm or this snake, I guess you could say, depending on sub or dub.
Sub or dub.
And at first, it's just stealthing its way in. Shinichi's asleep, but luckily he's got his in-ear buds in because it tries to first invade through the ear cavity. Can't get in because some headphones are there. It then attempts to burrow in through his nose, but he sort of sneezes / spits it out across the room, lands on his computer desk, and then the worm or the snake goes missile style and just sort of launches itself at Shinichi and manages to stab him in sort of the side of his right hand and burrows straight on in. And it's a moment.
I have a question.
Okay.
If it could do like the burrowing in through the skin, why didn't it just go for the neck? Like, be done with it.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
We wouldn't be talking about Shinichi as a hero then. We'd be talking about Shinichi as like another parasite,
as a
like
host,
everyone else. But yeah, that was the only slight thing that I had against it. Is like, well, if you could go in through the skin, go in through the neck, and you're fine. And he would never have stopped it because he just would have woken up and felt his neck, and it's like, oh well, too late. But anyway,
my thoughts maybe because we see in upcoming scenes where Migi or this parasite is learning and trying to educate and maybe become more intelligent. So maybe it sort of needs that bond or that connection with the human and the brain that it consumes to have a little bit more smarts about itself, or maybe it is just driven off instinct in that worm or snake form. But very valid, very valid. Maybe it is smart enough. It knows if it hits an artery going through the neck, it'll just bleed out and kill its host. I don't know.
Maybe.
But valid, very valid. Could have just missed this whole scene.
But then to see, all of a sudden the like he's got the headphones
doing like a tourniquet with it,
almost like doing heroin, because he's got it in his mouth and he's pulling it tight and all this sort of stuff, and it's like, oh, this is almost like an allegory for drugs as well. But it's like, hang on, we heard his mum talk about how he had his arm wrapped up in headphones last night. And it's like, oh, we're getting this scene right now, and we've heard the worm, we've heard the headphones. So it's like, okay, great, we've got this whole story from the very start.
Yeah, and seeing the parents bust in, not only confused but also sort of humoured in a way. Yeah. Seeing Shinichi, their very timid 16-year-old son, acting this way, they're really unsure what's going on, and he's sort of saying, there's a worm, it's in me, and the dad's sort of laughing off, almost like, shut up, dickhead, you don't know what you're talking about, you're half asleep here, don't be silly, go to bed type of thing. And that's sort of the end of that scene. And then it sort of flashes back to school, and we see that Shinichi's in class, very dazed and sort of hazed, and feeling that last night was still very much a dream, and he's sort of just doom scrolling on his phone and gets into a little bit of trouble.
He's not doom scrolling. Migi is doom scrolling because it's underneath the desk.
Yeah. I didn't even put that together.
He says to the teacher later on that he thought he turned off his phone, but Migi's just, they're doom scrolling, and it's the human anatomy on the screen that you see, just before they go into the flashback. And it's like, watching it the second and third time is when I put that together. That's like, oh, this is when she was first, trying to work out how this human anatomy and all this sort of stuff works, because she's the one, and when you look at it again, he's looking down at the table and the phone is underneath the table, and it's perfect.
Excellent pickup. I didn't even connect those dots. That's great, because I just assumed because he was still so out of it, and then when he's talking to the teacher, he was just saying whatever he can to avoid any trouble. But excellent pickup. I missed that completely.
Yeah. So good. I really enjoyed that part, and it wasn't until my third watch last night that I actually picked that up. So don't worry, I didn't pick it up the first couple of times.
Yeah, we see him getting into a bit of trouble. We can still see that Murano is still very upset about what happened earlier and is doing her best to avoid Shinichi at all costs throughout the school. He then voices that he's not feeling very well and maybe he should just leave school early. So he, I guess, goes to see the nurse at school, gets the permission to leave school, and then he's walking home half out of his mind, half still very hazed as far as what's happening. And we get this moment where we see this young girl crossing a street and this sports car flying up over the hill, driving recklessly. And we feel, oh no, this kid's about to get hit by this car. Shinichi jumps in front of the car, shields the kid with his left hand and his body, and puts out his right arm to block this car. The car gets smashed to bits, almost like it hits a pylon or a brick wall. And we get this first really quick visual where we see Migi taking over the hand.
Eye on the
just
back of
the
the
eye,
hand.
and we get sort of a little bit of webbing and a little bit of blade work on the fingertips, but just the eye looking back at Shinichi for this moment, I was like, "Ooh, this is freaky. This eye is great." And then he just reassimilates back into just a normal hand, and I was like, "Whoa, this is awesome. This is building up. What is happening?"
Did you notice what type of car it was?
It was wasn't a Supra, was it?
It was an Asda. They got rid of the M, and it was just an Asda, and the logo looked very similar to the Mazda logo, but not quite. Anime-based spoilers in general. The more anime you watch, the more you will see brands just slightly modified, like
referenced ever so slightly. Yeah, it's so great.
It was just perfect. Like I didn't quite pick up or get anything from the number plate, but I'm sure that it's a reference to something. I can't remember exactly what it was there, but
how did it feel seeing Migi awaken for the first time, and I guess seeing the potential power that this parasite has, where it could stop a car going, I'm guessing anywhere between 60 and 100 kilometers. It was moving, and it got stopped dead in its tracks by this hand. Like, I was like, whoa, this is a strong little parasite. But
also, Shinichi didn't hesitate. He jumped in front of the car, and we know that later on in the episode, and we'll again get to this, Migi only has control over the right hand. He had complete control over the body and all this sort of stuff, and he jumped in front of that car by himself to shield that child, knowing that it was pretty much certain death. And it's only because, and I think that will come back later on in the series, that, he actually has the heart of a hero, like whether he knows it or not. Fight or flight, he jumped into fight mode, not as a lot of other people would, the flight and not step away from the danger. So
yeah, he literally jumped in front of a moving car to save this child that he didn't know until that moment. But then going from fight to flight, because after he sees Migi looking back at him with the one eye through the right hand, he freaks out, runs home at speed, grabs a pocket knife out, and is planning
goes to stab himself.
Going to stab the hand, or cut whatever it is out of his idle hand now. And then we see Migi morph into this sentient hand-based creature with all that gooey, creepy, fantastic body horror that we both love.
Yep. What I found quite funny is that when he runs through, his mum goes, "Shinichi, is that you? It's a bit early." And then we get a great scene coming up, like after he's talking to Migi for a little bit, and they're conversing a bit. The mum knocks on the door, and it's almost like, "Mum, don't come in. It's almost like an allegory for masturbation and all this sort of stuff, which was just a great moment because it's like him and his right hand having a moment.
So yeah, Mama Azumi was like, "Oh, my boy's probably growing up here. She feels pretty great that her son's becoming a man, and no doubt the way it was written, she probably goes back down to the kitchen and starts preparing dinner because that's all she is used for in this show at the moment.
At the moment."
So we've got Shinichi freaking out because his hand has just come to life and is looking at him, and then you hear Migi starting to attempt to speak, and clearly because Migi isn't the smart little parasitic hand that he wants to be, the words are very slow and childlike, and he's asking Shinichi to teach him how to speak. And then this funny moment happens where he's talking, and I guess talking and being in this parasitic hand mode really exhausts a lot of energy
at this time. And it's like the second that Shinichi starts asking questions like, I'm tired, and just immediately disappears. But it's like, hang on, come back. I want to, we want more answers. But I think it was almost a perfect moment because it's like at any time Migi can actually just go back to being the normal hand, and he has nothing that he can do to sort of bring Migi back out, other than if he really wanted to, the knife can come out again. But then again, what we haven't mentioned is Migi is strong as fuck.
Yeah. Migi can stop moving cars.
He still goes to stab his right hand. Migi stops the blade, breaks the blade, throws the blade into the wall, and it's just gets lodged in the wall. And I think Shinichi's realized, oh shit, this thing is strong as all fuck.
Yeah, you don't mess with Migi because Migi will cut you up. So Migi is now exhausted and gone back to sleep hand mode. And so Shinichi jumps on the internet and he Googles right hand weird snake.
Yep.
And which makes me chuckle. And then he sort of realizes how weird that is to search as well. And I guess sort of gives up the search pretty quickly. And then we see he's down then at the dinner table with Mum and Dad. Mum's cooking great food again. And they're a bit more concerned now because they're like, oh, you came home early? What's wrong? And then the masturbation thing or the alleged masturbation moment, whatever else. They're like, this isn't our son. Are you okay?
But then he asks for seconds and his dad mentions, so you came home, you weren't feeling well, but now you're asking for seconds. Okay, everything's right here.
Yeah. It was good looking curry.
Oh, looked amazing. I'm loving the fact that you can tell this family just loves each other.
Yeah.
And they understand that their son's had a little bit of a hard day, but they don't give him shit about they don't harp on the fact that he came home early from school. They obviously trust that he came home for a good reason and all this sort of stuff. And it's like it's a really good feeling to have in a show like this to have that good family dynamic, which I'm sure they're going to fuck with later on.
I'm not going to confirm nor deny that statement. So yeah, we see him smash down two big plates of curry, and then it cuts to a scene where we've got a drunk man wandering down an alleyway, and he's sort of externally monologuing his life at the moment. He's like, "Oh, I've had too many drinky drinks," and that made me chuckle. And he stumbles across a dead body in the alleyway, but then we sort of jump forward. We don't really get to see what's happening in this alleyway too much.
No.
And it's now nightfall. Obviously, rain is starting to fall, and this random female neighbor is looking outside and realizes that the neighbor has left the clothes out, and she's sort of yelling out to, I can't remember the name of the neighbor, John Smith, for example, your clothes are out, bring them in, it's raining. But then she realizes the clothes on the clothesline are actually like skin and body
Human
parts.
skin, yeah.
And you're like, what?
Oh, God. Having actually read the manga as well, these scenes are almost taken directly out of the manga, which is absolutely perfect to have, a one-to-one comparison of being able to see how it was done in the original text and see it very faithfully demonstrated for all these early kills, almost one-to-one, like how the manga opens and how the anime opens is the exact same way. These kills are very, very much including the
panel for panel. It's good to
just
see.
Panel for panel, which is showing that they really love the original text and wanted to be faithful to it. And it, I don't know, really sets the scene that this is happening all over the city. Like, this isn't just...
Yeah, this isn't isolated to just the Shinichi's parasitic hand. This is starting to run wild through Japan, through Tokyo, and that skin on the clothesline, I was just like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay, this is going places. Strap in. And so after that moment, we flash forward to the next morning. Shinichi wakes up again and wakes up in a haze and realizes that Migi has got books like encyclopedias and whatever else sprawled throughout the bedroom, and Migi can now speak fluent English or fluent Japanese or just fluent language. And Migi, the sentient parasitic hand, has just been studying all night, and now he knows all about Earth and knows all about talking and life, and it's such a cool, weird, quirky moment.
Really is. Split itself off into like two separate parts of appendages. So you got like the base Migi one that I suppose, you know, has the single eye stalk and the mouth, but then another one that is mimicking all the animals that she's looking into, and is like, oh, that's what this is. This is a fish, and this is like, that was a really great moment when she realizes that Shinichi is awake, turns around and goes, okay, I've sort of worked out that, you know, because I'm in your right hand, and not in your head, you know, we have got two different consciousnesses, and if I was in your brain, you know, your head could do this. And then she literally shows it splitting open, their head coming out from, and it's like, but instead I'm in your right hand, and, you know, I have full control over this. Your right hand is now completely consumed by me. So how about I give you the opportunity to control your hand like you did before when I'm asleep? Like, I can rewire this. And it's like, when I heard that the first time, I'm like, oh no, this doesn't make sense. He could always control it. And it's like, oh no, she's sort of said that I'm now, you know, fully have eaten everything that is technically that hand. This is now, you know, she's almost completely of come to maturity. So now it literally is a hunk of flesh that he would not have control over. So it sort of explains, you know, how Migi literally has control over that particular appendage for the most part.
It's such a fun little discussion hearing about,
really is.
I guess, how this parasite or how this worm or snake, whatever you want to call it, how it works, how it usually takes over the host, where Migi's just casually talking about, you know, typically we burrow into your head, we consume the brain, and that's how we sort of take full control over a human. But yeah, due to me maturing in your arm or in your hand, I cannot do that. So let's sort of strike up a bargain. Let's sort of work together. And like you said, he can have full control of his right hand back normally, because Shinichi's talking about, I'm going to go to hospital, I'm going to cut it off.
And it's like, why would you do that? I'd be dead, and you'd be left without a right arm. That's not a win-win for either of us.
The bargaining and the back and forth between the two is great there, and it sort of ends before he goes down for breakfast, where Migi sort of says, "Use me with care," and that made me giggle a little bit. And we sort of flash forward to downstairs at the breakfast table. Yeah, Mum's cooking fantastic bacon and eggs again.
But this time hasn't given anything to Shinichi because of what he said yesterday.
She can't win. Poor mother. She's like, you said you didn't want any yesterday. Damned if I do, damned if I don't type of thing. Yes. But as this is going on, the dad is reading the news on his laptop or his tablet, and he mentioned there's been a lot more of these attacks, going into excessive detail about the deaths, mind you. It isn't just like, you know, people have been killed throughout the city. It's like, yeah, this person's been beheaded and this person's been this and that and the other. It's like, oh my, okay. So we can see that this is running rampant now, and there's some real problems and real dangers at play here.
Definitely. One thing that we didn't, we kind of glossed over it last time, that, you know, Shinichi got really scared about a spider, but this time they see I reckon it's actually the exact same spider crawling across the table. Like, do they just have the same spider crawl across every single morning? But anyway, this time Shinichi just picks it up and drops it outside, and it's like, oh, what's actually happening? You can already see the character growth, that this thing no longer bothers him. You know, it's like, I've got something even worse happening with my right hand. Like, that, this means nothing to me now. Like, I've seen stuff that you wouldn't believe, so a spider is fine.
it made me chuckle a little bit because the dad is making fun of
Yeah.
Shinichi, but he's like, oh, look on the table there. Like, oh, it's a big, bad, evil little bug. And yeah, then he just casually just no-sells it, picks up the bug, takes it outside like nothing. So the parent's like, yeah, what is happening here? Is this our son? He's become a man overnight. What's going on here? But I really love the family dynamic they've got here. Like you said, you can see that they care about each other greatly. They have some fun. They cook mad breakfast. I'm constantly salivating at the food that the mother's preparing and makes me want to eat all the anime food. But yeah, seeing Shinichi's immediate growth there where bugs are no longer an issue, that phobia out the door, just like the spider that he took up out there. And then we see him leave, and then he's on his way walking to school. And then Migi, the hand, wakes up again, and you see the eye and the mouth in the hand, which just is never not creepy / funny, I think, when you see it. Like, it's such a unique look that is unsettling, but also kind of cute, maybe? I don't know.
I just love the first line that Migi says is, "This is a different way than yesterday."
Yeah.
It's like straight away, it's like judgmental. What are you doing? You know, you thought I was asleep, and it's like, I'm going to the police station. It's like, no, you can't do that. Like, all they're going to do is, like, you know, dissect you, and and that's not going to be fun for either of us. We need to work out more about what's going on.
Yeah, it's just the dynamic between the two is fantastic, and it makes me laugh, their little interactions every single time. And it just works. And then we get this moment where Migi can sense another parasite around due to brainwaves or some type of, you know, brain-based frequency, and they can sense that there's another parasite about 200 or so meters away.
I've got a note right here.
Okay.
And my note says, unnecessary dubstep.
Okay.
Before they get to seeing what's around the corner, there's just this dubstep that comes out of nowhere, and it's like, this isn't really an action scene. They're literally just walking up to an alley. Like, I don't see why dubstep needs to be right this second until they turn around the corner, and then, you know, that's where they could have hit the drop.
Yeah, it's the soundtrack overall with Parasyte, the Maxim, is fantastic. Ken Arai, who put it together, he knows when to sort of speed up or slow down the pacing. But yeah, that pre-drop dubstep was a little early, couple of seconds, or, you know, a little unnecessary. But I'm like, okay.
So I was thinking, is this just the dub? So I went and listened to the sub and watched that all the way through. I was like, oh no, the music drops in the exact same spot. It's like, this is not a dub mistake. This is their choice, that they're going to really hype up the fact that he's going up to a corner and he's walking slowly up to a corner. Oh, we forget that you know, he didn't actually want to go with Migi, and Migi's actually, you know, turned into this massive, like, many-fingered hand grabbing onto a pole. It's like, no, I want to find out more about, you know, what my species is, because she's not been able to find anything out about it.
Yeah, so Migi wants to understand who or what she really is, where Shinichi's just like, fuck this, I just want to go home, or I'm going to the cop shop, whatever I need to do. But so you're seeing that literal push-pull mechanic going on here, where he's trying to run, but due to the strength that Migi has, Migi can just sort of throw the arm forward almost and use that momentum to push Shinichi forward. And we get to this alleyway, and I was not expecting this the first time I watched, because we see this body down, and we quickly discover that a dog, I think it's a corgi, if I remember right, for the species.
Looks very similar to a corgi.
This corgi is eating
another dog,
and then the corgi turns towards Migi and Shinichi, and we get that body horror head warp with the dog again, and it just splits apart and freaks me the fuck out.
Oh, and then it comes back together and turns into a dog, like, because it was already open, and it comes back, and then the dog starts talking. Is like, you have an inopportune host, or
the host is not optimal.
Non-optimal host. I too have a non-optimal host. And it was like, I was thinking, are these two going to you know, come together, and it's going to be like Shinichi's gonna have a dog off to the side, and it's going to be the two of them going at it. I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of a nice moment. And then all of a sudden, Migi's like, "Run!" I sense murderous intent.
Yeah, the whole dog doing its contortion and alien shifting made me think very much of The Thing, the old John Carpenter original from the 80s. And I was just like, man, this is so good and so unsettling. And I was rewatching it with my two boys, and they could sort of sense, like, they've got this weird sixth sense where they sort of, when there's animals on the screen or dogs on the screen, they sort of start to pay attention. I watched sort of Winston looking as this whole scene was playing out, and I'm like, it's all right, boys. Like, I'd keep you safe if Parasyte's around. I'd still love you. And yeah, so Migi says to Shinichi, run. It senses murderous intent. So they're running away, and they sort of seek shelter, or I guess stop and plan a strategy in a nearby playground and get ready to fight. But what's happening is they're talking and strategizing in this playground. We find out that this parasitic dog has managed to spawn wings and is flying through the sky, and it looks all kinds of fucked up.
It's got like this single cylinder for a head that's sort of sucking out at the air, and it's like, oh, this is so disgusting. And then the wings are like floating down and all this sort of stuff. The look, you get this line down the dog's face, and then it splits open, and it's like, oh, it just goes vertical, and it's just
it's some good nightmare fuel. And
really,
seeing this creepy demonoid parasitic dog flying in to try and eat Shinichi and Migi was a moment for sure. But then we see Migi levels up into like death claw mode and flies up through, like, the hand / arm extends like, what would you say, 20, 30 meters?
Oh, if not more.
Distance.
It's basically, I've got my note in my notes here, fire hosed.
I like that.
Fire hosed its way into the sky. And you can actually see during the fight, there's a couple of different angles of attack that Migi's going for, and then finally comes in from the side. You see kind of the dog pause in midair and almost stop dead to rights. And then the claw retracts, and in Migi's claws, like, and it's, got those metal claw looking things that it had when it stopped the car, has the dog's heart. And it's like, oh, this is fucking brutal.
Yeah, it's like a metal, like, horns up type of moment where you're like, damn. And like, Migi was so surgical, like you mentioned, so precise, where it was just like, and then it retracts down, and then the dog, or the parasitic dog's heart, is in Shinichi's hand, and then pops it.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa,
pops it,
I feel bad.
And that's the moment that the dog on screen collapses, like, because it was somewhat moving around until that heart gets popped, and it's like, that is just a chef's kiss moment that I absolutely loved, even though it makes no sense whatsoever. It should have already been dead because the heart was literally ripped out of it. But then you realize all this work that Migi has been doing of reading up on anatomy and all this sort of stuff, it knew so much more than the dog, because the dog was literally just a dog.
The dog didn't go to school. It was not Air Bud, this dog, that's for sure. Like,
definitely not. Well, it was Air Bud. But
touche. Yeah, bad reference. What's another smart dog, like Clifford? I guess Clifford was a pretty smart dog. He could talk and it's very big, but
Beethoven.
Yeah, Beethoven's pretty smart. Any other intelligent dog, it was not one of those. That's for sure. Yeah. So that moment where you see the heart ripped out, and like you mentioned, it made me wonder when I saw that the first time. So I'm like, so can these parasites, worms, snakes, whatever, can they exist and live even if their heart, or what we find out when Migi starts talking to Shinichi, the creature's core is what it references.
Yeah.
Can it exist and still live with its core outside of its body? If so, how long? What happens with this? And yeah, we get Migi explaining, like you just mentioned, where the dog, because it didn't have time to evolve, I guess you could say,
and gain enough information about the world. And when it created the wings, it exposed its core, because it had to take from its protection, basically, matter to actually create the wings so it could fly. And that was its undoing, because it exposed a weakness in its core, and Migi could take that that direct hit to the side and the dog. And Shinichi's just looking at Migi going, you have no empathy whatsoever. You are speaking about one of your own species like it's, just a small little bug, and you do not give a shit.
Yeah.
And he's almost scared at this moment. Like, not realizing, thinking, could Migi actually be bad right now? And I think this is a perfect opening for a TV show.
Yeah.
Like, it's answered enough questions, and the more that I've watched the episode and that sort of stuff, I feel like I've gotten so much knowledge as to what's actually happening in this show, and I haven't given too much away.
It's one of the best opening episodes of an anime that I can remember. Like, a lot of the times with these first episodes, there's so much table setting and character introduction that we don't get much movement on the story or the potential things that are existing in this universe, where, like you said, we get just enough intrigue and mystery and also clarity to some of the things going on, where you can start to piece together, okay, I understand this species, I understand this world and these characters and their motives, but I also feel that it could change in an instant, episode to episode. So I'm like, damn, I need to know what's going on. And I do appreciate too with the writing where they do explain, when these parasites mutate and change, there is adverse reactions to the rest of their species. Like, they're not just God mode can morph and tweak without any sort of ramification to them, where it does expose vulnerabilities. So I like that it shows that these creatures, even though they're killing machines, they do have vulnerabilities if they do need to alter to their environment to try and survive or take something down.
Yep. The very next scene is Shinichi washing his hands, and it's almost in the last scene. We know that Migi, Shinichi didn't feel that Migi had felt anything, but Migi says, "The
water's cold."
And it's like, okay, so you can feel actual things. You got no empathy. So I felt that was a great parallel. That is like, oh no, Migi actually feels and can feel the things, but can't actually feel the emotion.
It's very, very serial killer-esque, right? Where they're just, cold and zero empathy. They're just machine-like, where, running the hand under the cold water from the tap. Oh, that's cold. Like, what are you doing, Shinichi? I don't like that sort of thing. It made me chuckle, where we do get these really harsh, violent, unsettling moments, and then some lighter moments sort of bookending it really regularly. And it keeps the tone interesting, and it keeps the vibes varied, which I enjoy with the writing and the pacing. It's not all just doom and gloom, hyper violence, and you just become numb to it and you don't care. They do humanize all of these characters and build them out in a way where you're like, okay, I kind of get you. I kind of like you, Migi. Even though you are a little death machine, I kind of like that you are funny and quirky and kind of cute in a weird way. Yeah.
Then we hear a voiceover that we didn't actually say at the start. Like, I forgot to mention as part of the intro, there was a voiceover of someone once had a thought. And that's the only line that sort of gets said. But it echoes back to, what happened, what was being said at the very start. And it's like, okay, so we get a 2 days earlier, and it pushes into a guy killing a woman. Mm-hmm. And licking the blood off his lips and all this sort of stuff. And he looks up to the sky, and then we see an egg sort of coming down. It lands on like a satellite dish, opens up, and we actually see this is actually Migi going to see Shinichi right then and there. And when I saw that spore coming down, and then I saw the intro again the next time I watched it, and I realized, oh shit, that's how many spores are literally falling down, because they show how many spores are falling down at the very start of the intro. I'm like,
quite a few.
Holy fucking shit. And I think what I'm loving about this anime is the fact that it's 24 episodes. I'm not coming into a 1,000 episode monster. I can be in and out in 24 episodes and have the full story that covers the full manga. It's actually pretty amazing that somehow in the next 24 episodes, it's going to tell the entire story and it's not going, well, it's probably going to leave me wanting more, but as I'm sure it will, because, I'm really enjoying this so far.
Well, that's okay. I'll just have to find the next thing for you to check out. But yeah, it tells a full story in those 24 episodes. It's not rushed. The pacing is great. And the way it ends is great too. I'm avoiding anything specific because I don't want to allude to anything for yourself or the listeners, but it is a banger of an anime. Like the fact that it's got an 8.33 based off 1.1 million unique user votes, it shows how adored and respected the anime is, because it is extremely well reviewed. And yeah, those 24 episodes are just fantastic viewing from front to back. And I can't wait to sort of talk with you offline as you sort of progress through the story and the twists and turns and the characters you meet along the way. And it's just a time, man. And yeah, it's funny because we have this ending scene where, we've got this clearly homicidal man laughing as he stabbed this woman to death, and then putting her blood all over himself, and we see these spores float down. I'm like, oh, this is a bit ominous. But then we get the ending, and the music is so relaxed, and the end credits where we're seeing a lot of visual references to like doors, closed doors, particularly, and it's all very chill and very zen, and for gamers out there, very like cozy game vibes. But then at the end, we get some really unsettling body horror imagery that is sort of like a bit fever dream-like, where we're getting really scratchy animated drawings with pops of neon with a black background, and it's this weird juxtaposition compared to the rest of the ending.
The music is very serene compared to what we've just watched. It's almost like, this is the calm before the storm, and we're just going to do this each week. And you'll come back and you'll be really pumped up for the episode, and then we're just going to calm you down and let you go away and have a think about what you've just watched. And yeah, I'm so glad that this is the one that you this is one of the ones that you gave me, because of all of those I watched all the trailers, and we were talking about a few different ones, and I'm like, as soon as I watched the trailer for this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the one that really is making me want to watch.
Yeah, the second you reference body horror to me in the chat, I'm like, please please go with Parasyte. Please go with Parasyte, because I feel it's going to be the perfect Trevor anime gateway, and it feels like that. So I'm very respectful of your choice to only watch the first episode. Like, you could have went beyond, but I admire the hell out of you for watching the first episode, albeit 3 times, to get all the information necessary, and reading
the first 2 chapters of the manga, and finding out some weird shit in that. Like, there's a scene with, let's just say that it goes very sexual very, very quickly, and there's a scene where Migi is trying to say to Shinichi, can you get erect for me right now? And it was like, oh god, this is probably still to come in the show, and they may touch on it, they may not. And then the next scene happens, and he's sitting down with Murano, and like, Migi turns itself into a big, huge, throbbing penis. Like, there's just this huge penis arm. And I started pissing myself with laughter as soon as I saw that in the manga. I'm like, oh God, what am I in for in the rest of this show?
It's pretty funny too that Iwaki, who and created this manga, that was one of the first scenes that he came up with as far as what he wanted to do with Parasyte. And he thought, well, in order to make this successful, we need to do it in a school-based setting. So that's why we see a 16-year-old Shinichi and a lot of high school vibes, because he wanted to play around with Migi and some penis-based appendages. So, shout out to the Japanese doing all kinds of creative and kooky things. Yep. It's on another little factoid. This is actually one of 38 anime and manga titles that is actually banned in mainland China.
Okay.
So the Chinese Ministry of Culture listed this as one of the do not watch or do not read titles. So it's one of 38 that China has outlawed way back in 2015. But I guess the questions now is, you are like, will you continue to watch? I have to ask the question, but I think we already know the answer, listeners.
We already know the answer. The fact that I have all 24 episodes lined up, ready to go. And yes, I will be continuing this through to completion because, yeah, I've loved what I've seen so far. It's got such a unique premise, and I don't know. It just, my mind is thinking about how far this could go. You know, they'll obviously bring some things in at very close by to Shinichi. They'll have bigger overarching things. They could do anything because once they start ingratiating themselves into society, you won't be able to tell. You know, they can look like you or I. They can mimic very well and learn very quickly.
Bit of paranoia with general society where you're like, are you human or are you a parasite? Like, yeah, who's real? Who's a skin suit and who's a real human out there? So it makes me wonder. And
yeah, I can sort of tell that these parasites are also very inquisitive. So I don't know, and I'm guessing that there'll be a few that are inquisitive to the point of, you know, trying different things and trying to mimic different people within the whole of society to try and learn more. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing, you know, just how many different sort of villains that we come up against. How many different, you know, is there an overarching villain for the whole thing, or is it just sort of a little bit different? And the fact that they don't go that far, like to show any of that sort of stuff now, it's just like a simple grounded story that, you know, this is just showing this is what's possible, but we're not even letting know what else is going on in this world.
Yeah, strap in for the next 23 episodes. Did you have a favorite scene or moment from this first episode that stood out more than the others in the Metamorphosis?
I mean, look, I love the dog scene. I love the car scene because that really showed that, you know, as I said before, Shinichi has the heart of a hero. He will jump into action, and it's not just the fact that, you know, he has a superpowered hand. Love the intro scene. Like, that just got me, like, I just could not believe that's how they would open the show, and I'm here for it. Yeah. Like, that's a bold opening, and to know that that's how they also open the manga and all that sort of stuff is just, that's bold. That gets bums on seats. Especially when you know straight away, we're showing you what is possible with this show. Because for the next, you know, 20 minutes almost, you're not going to see much of this at all. Like,
it sets the table as to what's to come very quickly, and it just leaves you wanting more because, yeah, you see this pretty intense headbite moment, and yeah, you don't see much of that for the rest of this episode. You see some violence and some shocking moments, but you're nothing to that extent. So you're like, God damn. And I've got to shout out to Madhouse, the studio behind it. The animation in this is fantastic. And they're a studio that's been around for a good long while, and they've done some of my favorite things from yesteryear and currently. Like, they've done most recently, My Love Story with Yamada-kun begins at level 999. They've done Overlord, Paranoia Agent, Death Note, Black Lagoon, Trigun, ones we mentioned earlier, as far as they were the studio behind Ninja Scroll, as well as Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. So they're a studio with a lot of pedigree. And the animation, even though this is an anime that's getting close to 10 years old now, it still stacks up really well. And I find the combat scenes and just the general character movement to be pretty bang on. Like, there's a little bit of a homage to this anime, to the manga that was written decades prior with some of the animation style, but they've also made it look modern and current. So I'm all for what Madhouse have done and put to screen.
Yeah. I suppose I should also say that even though the sort of scenes that I've talked about that I really love so far, I do also love the family scenes because it sort of shows that moment, but those moments between this loving family, and I'm just waiting for that to get totally ripped apart later on because I know that they're trying to go for the heartstrings to just rip that apart later on because, you know, they know what they're doing.
I say nothing. I'm not going to spoil anything.
And that's what I love about it. And I'm glad I made the choice not to go through any further because you know what? It means I can talk about the episode 1 and you know, you're probably hearing me talk about stuff and not knowing. I could be completely off base, or I could be, you know, actually a reasonable storyteller that I can sort of pick up these story beats. But
yeah, hopefully my poker face has not given anything away either way. But and listeners, if you're still on the fence about checking out Parasyte, if you've watched and enjoyed things like Tokyo Ghoul, Devilman Crybaby, Ajin, Inuyashiki, or Death Note, which are the most common 5 recommended in parallel with Parasyte on my anime list, if you've watched any of those 5 and dug what they put out on screen, do yourselves a favor and check out Parasyte, because it is fantastic. But we're going to jump now into the last word, presented by our friends over at Japan Crate. Experience Japan through snacks and knickknacks via monthly package drops, courtesy of japancrate.com. And while you're there, be sure to use code 8bit15 at checkout. Save yourself 15% and get free shipping anywhere on planet Earth. Trevor, what is your last word, or words if you want to get technical, on Parasyte, the Maxim?
Gory, brutal. I love it.
Fantastic. I can't really add much more to that. I love it too. It is so good. It's some of the best horror or science fiction in the anime realm that I've ever watched. I really, really rate it, and it is very much worth all your time. But Trev, that brings us to the end of another episode of More Than Hentai. I'm going to throw the floor over to you again, and you can choose to dance on it or just shout out whatever you want as far as where people can find all the good content that you do before we close down the studio for another couple of weeks. So, Trev, the floor is yours.
So if you just head over to podchaser.com/Bitstorm, BITSTORM, you'll find all 350 odd episodes, maybe even 360 by the time this is out, who knows. And yeah, you can leave a like and review there on those, or, you know, listen to your heart's content. There's plenty of episodes. There's a few episodes there with the wonderful Brendan White.
Starch Wars, baby. Starch Wars. It's coming back.
Oh, we've got to have you back on at one stage, and you're always welcome in the studio.
You tell me when.
Yeah,
but yeah, be sure to check out Bitstorm. And the great thing with it is you can jump in any old time. So if there's an episode that sounds a little bit more appealing than the others when you're reading that episode synopsis, you can jump in. You don't have to go all the way back to episode 1 and work your way all the way forward to episode 350, 360. You can just cherry pick based off.
You can start at the latest episode and work your way backwards and go, oh, they've been talking about this for a long time. It's like, now I get the reference.
I love the references and the continuity episode to episode with games and ideas and themes and characters that have come up several hundred episodes back, and they're still making their way into sort of current Bitstorm lore. It's so good. Yeah.
And, you know, we just want to make each other laugh. When we went down to the 30-minute episodes, I think things became a little bit easier for us to sort of keep our you know, wits about us and hit some better game ideas, I think. So
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I know I'm going to say like that short, snappy episodes are great as we tick our way close to 90 minutes here, but I feel the discussion has been fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a great old time here.
I've loved my time, and it's gone so fast. Like,
it really has. It really has. I looked over a second ago and I'm like, holy shit, it's been 80 minutes so far? Where does the time go? Where does the time go? But yeah, listeners, follow us all as a whole at We Are 8-Bit. You can find me on the socials at Brendan8Bit, and you can find Trev at Trev H. Scott on them socials as well. Be sure to rate, you, subscribe to this podcast and all the other podcasts you listen to on the regular, because those ratings and reviews mean the world to us. Check out the merch store at shop8bit.net. And whether your anime be subbed, dubbed, or still yet to come, enjoy yourself, stay hungry, and much love to all the gorgeous waifus out there. Goodbye.